Welcome to Hot Takes and Headlocks, the only show where we interview you, pro wrestling fans, about your love for professional wrestling. I'm your host, Joe Zaletta. We have a great one for you tonight. But before we get to our guest, hit a leg drop on that like and subscribe button on the Hardcore Sports Network Facebook and YouTube page, the best YouTube channel where you get all you need for all things sports, news, watch-alongs, live reactions. If you're watching live, light up our interactive chat and be part of the conversation. Let us know where you're chatting to us from. The more engaged our audience is, the better we can make the show for you. And finally, if you want to leave us some feedback or you want to be on an upcoming Hot Takes and Headlocks episode, email me at hottakesandheadlocks@gmail.com so we can schedule you for a future show. And now, our guest tonight, he is a musician, a singer, an actor. He checks all the boxes. Coming to us live from New Jersey, here is Ro Stafa!
What's going on, kid?
What's going on, man? So glad.
Oh, man, it's been years, brother.
Yeah. How you been?
Oh, God, life's been throwing me a couple curveballs this year. I mean, I think for everybody, 2025 has been kind of weird, but, I'll just say this, man, I'm still standing, I'm still alive, I'm still breathing. I can't say for others that are out there that are dealing with, with different stuff going on, but nah, dude, man, you look great, man. How you doing?
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm doing good, man. I got nowadays, my kids keep me busy, and this is a little bit of a hobby thing that I'm doing right now. And every day, I'm just trying to improve it just a little bit more, just trying to get everything right. So far tonight, everything seems to be going much better than it did last week. But dude, I've been looking forward to this for like ever since you and I connected to get you on here, man. I've been really excited about this. Every time we talk, there's always so much pro wrestling to cover. And today is no different. There's a lot to cover with what's going on, with the passing of Hulk Hogan. We got SummerSlam coming up. We just had All In. There's so much going on in the world of pro wrestling, man. But with all the episodes, I always want to take it back to the beginning. So as with what I do with all my guests, let's start at the beginning. And my first question to you is, what are your earliest memories watching pro wrestling?
Oh, man. So ironically, and I didn't find this out until recently in my memory bank, that years ago, I actually had this little, I forget what it's called, like where you have like that one box that's like exposed and you have to like fit everything in a specific order to make the picture like happen. It's like I don't know. It's like one of those little boxes that you just got to scramble around and like just get the right picture in. And that ironically was a picture of Hogan.
No
So so I had that, but I didn't really know what wrestling was. And then the next thing you know, I saw these video games popping up. And this is like when PlayStation was like hot, like really, really hot coming out of the gate, because everybody wanted to do something that was, not just seen in just the 8-bit or even the 64-bit, and we just went to a digital format. So I then started finding these wrestling games, and we had every system. We had Nintendo, we had pretty much Game Boy, we had obviously PlayStation, and I just started playing these games, whether it be WrestleMania 2000, whether it be No Mercy, whether it be WCW.
My favorite games too.
Yeah, WCW versus NWO, or any of these games that came out. And then oddly enough, and I want to say it was either December of 99, maybe January 2000. I want to say it was January 2000 that I discovered WWE. And this is literally at the height of the Attitude Era, where basically by the time it was 2000, WCW was already creatively spent. It was done. But I stuck with WWE, and the guy that got me hooked was The Rock. The Rock was my guy. And Austin came back later from injury, but with all due respect to Austin, I thought Rock was incredible. Everything about him, the gift of gab and the gift of jab, third generation superstar, had the looks. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine last week, and I was telling him it was like watching Muhammad Ali, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Elvis put in the one. and that was Rock. And then next thing you know, there's all these other characters. And then I discovered that there are other wrestling organizations out there, that wrestling goes back even long before I was born, in like the late 1800s, and the carnivals and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I was obsessed with the history of wrestling, but then also how did we get from where we were currently. So I had to keep on going back. So I watched all the VHS tapes that I could,
Yeah.
DVDs that I could, and you discover little things here and there, and then eventually you find out that, sorry children, wrestling's a work. And basically I found out that everything was kind of kayfabe, basically, but in a good way. It was no different from theater. It was no different from film. It was no different from, again, even things in the carnivals where, again, everything is done deliberately to get a reaction out of you to keep you coming back. So that's another reason why I fell in love with wrestling. And yeah, that's kind of been my kind of origin story with it.
Nice, nice. Just to let you know, we got some people in the chat already. We got Daniel chiming in saying what's up, and we also have Mitch chiming in as well saying what's good, bro. What's up, bro, Stafa? So we have an audience. We're on the live right now with Facebook and YouTube. So we're gonna expect to see some more comments lighting up the chat later. But you mentioned that you mentioned the tapes, the DVDs. So I found this out late, man, that there was an underground tape trading community before, obviously, the days of streaming, before DVDs were being sold by the WWE, WWF at the time. So were you part of that tape trading community as well? Were you trading tapes with people?
It's funny. I was 8 years old when I discovered wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So it was, and it's interesting. I wish I discovered it 4 years before that, in like 96, because that's when like the heyday, that boom was coming, because 93, 94, 95 was in the toilet, in the US of wrestling in that, except for like, ECW and stuff. But then, yeah, and then you had like, things like, All Japan, New Japan, where if you actually look back, even in the late 80s, early 90s, the women in Japan were killing it. And matter of fact, they influenced a lot of the men in like Mexico, Japan, and in Europe, and all those guys, because there was a lack of realism in Western wrestling, in the sense that everything was just all about superstardom and not about substance. I believe both matter equally. But it's funny because I remember hearing about tape trading to the point where by the time everything went into the digital format, then I really got into it. So like, for example, the outtakes of interviews with like Gene Okerlund, the famous one when Iron Sheik chokes the chicken or the turkey or whatever and slams it back in the cage and just spits on it, or the one with like everybody, he announces everybody's name and they all come in the frame. There's that one, of course, obviously, Mick Foley's movie, and a few other different ones, and of course, obviously, the famous Tommy McGee one that came out a number of years ago. So yeah, I was kind of into it, but it only later, because it was available in a digital format where you didn't have to borrow a tape, where God forbid it's been copied on several different occasions. So the digital format became a lot more smoother and better to work with.
You mentioned the 99 2000 era time, and that is peak Attitude Era, man.
Yeah.
Wrestling was everywhere. It was really making an impact on pop culture and stuff. But weirdly enough, even though it was so popular, like if you told somebody you were a wrestling fan, oftentimes you got that kind of response, like, dude, it's fake, right? Like, it's not real.
Right.
It's odd because, at that point in time, like I was 15 years old in high school, and everybody was crotch chopping, but low blowing, right? Everybody was doing it, but like they were doing it just to do it. They weren't actual wrestling fans, but that's the reach that the Attitude Era was doing at the time. So,
right.
To sum up my question, right? Did you ever encounter, whether it be friends or people in school, that gave you that kind of feedback? And what did you say to them? How did you defend your passion for pro wrestling?
Well, it's funny. When you're in like elementary school and stuff like that, you're into everything. You're into sports. You're into comic books. You're into magazines. You're into, you know, somewhat of the opposite sex if you matured early. You know what I mean? But I was very into, like, again, the kind of mysteriousness that was wrestling, because yeah, you didn't know if it was real or not. But it's funny though, because nowadays when you look back, it's like just using the F word, fake, is no different from, let's say, oh, Denzel Washington, he played Malcolm X. Oh, but he's not really Malcolm X. You know what I mean? It's one of those cases. And again, the cat was already out of the bag long before we were born, even in the 1920s and 30s. But it really got out of the bag in the 80s when dirt sheets really started becoming more prominent, to the point where the wrestlers started reading that stuff. And they would follow what was going on with certain territories, which territories were doing okay, what the payout was like. And a lot of guys wanted to go to Japan because you got paid very well in Japan. And I think that it's incredible how, you know, again, yeah, you would deal with some cats that would be like, oh yeah, I used to be into wrestling, but not anymore, because it doesn't feel as real. Well, again, just because something doesn't feel as real doesn't necessarily mean you still can't enjoy wrestling, even if it's not in a company that you're familiar with. So that's why when TNA came to prominence on Spike TV, I kind of switched over to there for about 3 or 4 years, but I still kept up with WWE. And I think honestly, it's one of those cases where, you know, it's definitely, we've come a long way where it comes to taste. And I think we're at a point right now where you can watch anything and everything, and it'll be a beautiful, beautiful situation.
And you know, with all the different options we have to consume wrestling, like look at where we are right now. You have WWE still thriving even more than what it was 25 years ago. You still have TNA. Now we have AEW. WCW got bought by the WWF, right? So
ECW, a bunch of organizations, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So now we can consume it even more than what we were able to do before. And nowadays, what are you watching more of, man? Or is it spread out pretty evenly between all the companies?
I mean, honestly, WWE has been actually kind of on a bit of a roll. Even though that it can still be criticized in certain ways. But, you know, WWE, TNA, I've been actually getting back into, because I remember when they fired a few people, you know, besides, like, you know, again, management and stuff like that, which I thought was a pain. But judging by the partnership that they've had after when they turned from Impact back to TNA, and they partnered with WWE, I'm like, this is fantastic. I mean, again, they, you know, 7,000 seater or over 7,000 seater just this past weekend. I mean, again, also what's going on with AEW, and, you know, it's funny because people think that, oh, if you pick one company, you can't pick another, which is complete BS. You can watch anything and still be inspired. Dude, even on the indie scene, even with, you know, independent promotions like GCW, not all of it I'm into, but some of it I am. New Japan, despite the fact it's not been as hot as it was in recent years, at least for me, there's still great wrestling. So again, it's not just the larger than life characters I'm into. I love the art of wrestling. I love how wrestling is evolving and pertains to the psychology, as it pertains to certain things that you can do that is believable, because ultimately it's about the suspense of belief, but also you coming into your emotions, so that way you can buy into what they're doing and not just cheer because there's a high spot going on, you know.
You know, one of the things that I see a lot nowadays is wrestling fans, you know, wrestling fans are really fickle sons of bitches, man. You know, they'll like one thing 1 second, they'll hate the thing another second. Most of the time, I see that there's just negative towards the product and all around. And with this show, I want to keep it as positive as possible, right? So rather than talking about what's wrong with wrestling nowadays, talk to me about the things that you're watching that you're like, wow, that was the right call. I am actually enjoying what I'm seeing right now.
You know, it's a mixed bag, right? You know, perception is reality, and whether that's shared or whether that's, you know, by the individual. Like for me, I mean, I was enjoying, and I'm going to be completely transparent, when Vince left, when Triple H took over the booking from, I think it was the summer of 2022, going into, like, you know, again, 2024. I mean, that was incredible because it was a breath of fresh air. You can say professional wrestling on WWE television. It was refreshing. It was almost as if somebody took the chain off the neck and you could free yourself and be yourself. AEW, although that there have been some questionable things, I mean, especially with the Moxley storyline and the Death Rider storyline, at the end of the day, the fact that it was Hangman Page and the fact that it was at All In Texas, the fact that it wasn't a death match, and when you saw that last image of Jon Moxley clinging on for dear life, tears and blood in his eyes, and he's trying to hold on, but he couldn't, and he tapped out. I mean, again, that in itself was worth it. I mean, again, I know I'm one of the minority that thought, okay, yes, it was way too long. It was dragged out. It was just not worth it. But by the time Hangman got that title back and took it out of the briefcase, I'm like, no, it was. But yeah, but again, that moment alone was worth it. I just feel that a lot of times I feel there's just certain liberties with, how should I say, with like a lot of different stories that are being implemented, because again, you want logic to work. Logic in any story or storyline needs to work, and it needs to work for all parties, not just include the people in the ring, but also the fans, because they're along for the ride.
Yeah.
And we've noticed in history where if something doesn't work, we'll heavily criticize it, and we all have a right to. But it's like trying to be a movie critic, right? Where it's like, I mean, that worked, but that didn't work. But wrestling fans, although that we've gotten smarter over the course of the last 30, 40 years, again, we don't know everything, and we're not supposed to know everything, and you just want to enjoy it. So at times I'm trying to take the obvious out and just try to be that little kid that discovered wrestling all those years ago. So again, it's hard these days because now we have social media, which can be used as a great tool, but unfortunately we sometimes spoil ourselves by looking for spoilers.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, man. I'm actually glad that you brought up All In. You brought up the Death Riders, Hangman, Adam Page winning, and just the execution of that storyline, that creative right there. Because the feedback I've heard about it is exactly that it was so long. It was a very long storyline, but it concluded, and now the belt is off of Jon Moxley. Everyone wanted it to be on Hangman Adam Page, right? But let's look at the parallel to that, right? Now, if you look at the finish for WrestleMania 40, it's pretty similar to what we saw at All In. It's sort of like that Avengers-esque execution, right? But it took how many years to get the belt off of Roman Reigns?
Right. And that's the difference, right? That's the difference. It's like, it's one thing to say, because I remember when Michael Cole was like, if you don't like it, beat him. Which he was basically teasing us. Hey guys, you may not like it, but ultimately we have the book. We're the ones that are writing it. And again, everyone was pissed when Cody didn't win at WrestleMania 39. And I'm like, guys, if Dusty Rhodes was booking this, he would have been like, yes, this is the way to go. Because what happened the very next year?
Cody won it.
Now, we almost didn't get that.
Yeah, right.
But in hindsight 2020, everybody got what they wanted. Just like WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan, even though that recently he was just like, there was a lot of things that happened that weekend that he, took the joy out of it for him. And also, he wasn't originally the guy, even though the fans knew he was the guy. It's just, again, it goes back in time where you got somebody, that's small and that is just a good wrestler and the personality is not there. Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to call him, had personality. The moment he started doing the yes chants, the no chants, and then even the stuff with Kane, which, by the way, on paper, I'm like, what is this? But then when they started doing it, I'm like, now I get it. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. The segments they would do with Dr. Shelby in the backstage, dude, those were gold, comedy gold. But
comedy gold. And the best part about it is that, by the time it was over, it's like, okay, what's next? Right. And what's next was Bryan getting that momentum leading into the summer, which led him to, wanting to win the title, but then get screwed, and the fans just would not relent. And Vince just, thank God. I mean, in a way, with the help of CM Punk in a weird way, helped that get crossed over. Because again, it wasn't necessarily the match. So, it's funny because wrestling fans, as you say, can be fickle. But when we're passionate about something and saying, no, this is not the right way to go, we know where it's going. Again, don't screw with logic. Let let the natural flow and progression of stories take its place. Because again, it's no different from a popularity contest with wrestling, but at the same time, though, it's like if you know somebody who's just been climbing and scratching and clawing away, guys like Brett, for example, you saw him grow, and then by the time he won the title, I mean, again, it was time. And the fact that he won it in Saskatoon, which was his first match, so that was irony. And again, I was at WrestleMania 40 for Cody, and I'll tell you, brother, it's funny when you watch it on television and you get a certain perspective, but when you're there live, the goosebumps are real, bro. It was insane.
Hold on a second. Stop the presses.
Yeah.
You were at WrestleMania 40.
I was in a suite for both nights.
Oh my God. Honestly, dude, I'm so happy for you that you got to go to WrestleMania. But anytime I encounter somebody that I know went to WrestleMania, I have not been to a WrestleMania yet. So I'm incredibly.
You've not been to a WrestleMania?
I've never been to a WrestleMania.
What is wrong with you, my friend?
I know, man. I should have just done it at 20.
All right. This is what we're going to do right now. Anybody who's watching right now, I don't care what you have in your wallet. I want you to Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, anything you got to do. We got to build this brother an account. We're sending him and his family to a WrestleMania. We got to get him good seats, not like some, weak ass, we're going to put him in the very, very freaking top, which, by the way, I went to WrestleMania 29 and we're in the top like 300 section. And bro, I could have watched what I did on TV and it would have still had the same effect, right? Wow. So again, I implore you, get good seats. Let's hook this brother up. Let's get him to a WrestleMania to say that he's not only done it, but he would love it.
In all fairness, man, I'm actually going to SummerSlam. I will be there.
Oh, I'm jealous, bro. No, I want to go so bad because you got to understand, dude. It's like it's been a very tough year for me, and finances. I know for a lot of people are extremely tough, especially in the Northeast. It's going to be. I mean, again, you're going to have people coming from all around the world for the first SummerSlam for 2 nights. I'm already sold on what's going on with Roman. I'm already sold. Shoot, with Jelly Roll. Who would ever think I would be into Jelly Roll, man? And dude, he doesn't look like a punk when he's throwing a punch. You notice that? He looks good throwing a punch, and he lost 200 pounds, bro. He looked great.
I will give him credit. The guy has been doing really good, number one, selling, and he's been really good at the choke slam. The choke slam, he's been doing really good, but also because he's doing it to people that are very experienced, and they know how to make that choke slam look good. So okay. Yeah, all things considered, he's doing he's doing a good job. But he's also going to be in a tag match with veterans, and they're going to be protecting him, so that way he doesn't have to carry an entire tag match by himself.
Absolutely. Yo, brother, they're calling my name. I'm at a music venue right now, but dude, I want to continue this because again, there's still a lot of more meat on the bone. I will say this though, because obviously Hogan had just passed away.
Yeah, I want to get to that. Yeah,
I want to get to that. I'll tell you what, man, let's do a part 2. I don't know when, I don't know how, but let's definitely do a part 2 because I wanted to actually dedicate this to Hogan because we need to talk about Hulk Hogan, but then we also need to talk about Terry Bollea. You know what I mean? We need to talk because there's 2 different perspectives on this. Everybody has a right to their opinion, but we definitely need to do this. But dude, I apologize for calling me on stage. Let's definitely pick this up. I don't want to leave you hanging. Whatever thoughts on Hogan that you want to put down, whatever you want to do, let's pick it up from there. But dude, love what you're doing, man. I'm happy for this program. We go way back. We'll definitely tell some stories. From back in the day, and we'll definitely do it. But dude, you got my love. I'm proud of you, bro. Keep doing your thing, okay? You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Stafa101.
Anything you want to plug before you go? Any upcoming projects?
Yes, I'm going to be doing The Last Waltz, which is a tribute to the band, happening November 15th. It's going to be taking place at Montclair Art Museum. We'll talk more about it, but brother, God bless you, man.
All right, thank you, man. Have a good night.
You too, brother.
All right, all right. All right, guys. So Stafa, busy man. They're calling him up right now. He's at a music venue. So we're going to be ending this episode a little bit early. Thank you to everyone who's watching live. Thank you to everyone who's going to be watching this after this episode comes to a conclusion. Again, if you're interested in coming on Hot Takes and Headlocks, or you want to leave us some feedback, let me know what you're liking that we're doing with the show. Email me at hottakesandheadlocks@gmail.com, and we'll discuss about a future spot for you for an upcoming episode. All right. Thank you very much. Honestly, I want to give my thoughts and just explain how I feel about Hulk Hogan before this episode comes to a conclusion. Polarizing figure, he has fans that love him. He's obviously done some controversial stuff where he's kind of lost some love from fans, and it just is what it is. But all that aside, man, the guy knew how to get a reaction from fans, no matter what. Whether he was a baby face or if he was a heel, he always got a reaction from you, and he was really good at that. My first time, actually, I didn't get into wrestling from watching Hulk Hogan. I got into wrestling from watching Attitude Era superstars, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. Those were the guys that got me into it. And then as my love for professional wrestling deepened even more, that's where I discovered Hulk Hogan, what he did in the 80s, what he was doing in the 90s with the NWO and everything. But it wasn't until he came back in 2002 and we got our match with him versus The Rock. WrestleMania 18, Icon versus Icon, Hogan versus Rock. That WrestleMania is top 3 for me. That's in my top 3 WrestleMania matches. And the storytelling, the what and everything that I found out about that match, like after the fact, right? Finding out that everybody was people stopped cheering for The Rock. They started cheering for Hogan, and they flip-flopped it mid-match, and it all came back together afterwards with The Rock winning. And then you have that ending where Hogan is holding Rock's arm up. He's doing the gesture for him, almost as if he's passing the torch. All of those little things, just like, I got it. I understood why Hogan was so good at what he was doing, man. And he's not with us anymore. Rest in peace. I heard that it was due to complications with cardiac arrest. Leaving all the negative side, all the controversial stuff that he did on the side, the guy did so much for professional wrestling. He brought professional wrestling to a mainstream audience. Rocky 3, first WrestleMania, and numerous WrestleManias afterwards. He did so much for the professional wrestling industry, and you can't deny it, man. It is a sad day for professional wrestling, for losing one of the pillars of professional wrestling. But we have all these memories. We have everything that we can watch back on to really relive those childhood memories. Just off the cuff, those are my thoughts about Hulk Hogan. So yeah, we're ending this one a little bit early, but we're going to be picking this up next week with our next guest. We're going to be having Scott Pressman, aka Hotshot Scotty. I'm excited for that one. He's been watching wrestling for even longer than I have been, so it's going to be fun to pick his brain about things that probably I don't even know about when it comes to professional wrestling. So we're going to be picking it up with him next week, and I'll be in contact with Stafa to see if we can do a part 2 sometime in August. So everybody stay tuned for that. Thank you again, everybody, for watching live, and thank you for everyone watching this after the show posts. Good night, and see you next week. Bye-bye.